Hello and welcome to Gibson's Caring Corner. Today we're going to start out talking about Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a terrible disease and it is something that many people deal with. Creighton, can you share a little bit about the statistics?
Sure. Over 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's, and by 2050, nearly 13 million will have the disease. Deaths from Alzheimer's disease have increased 145% since 2000. Caring for people with Alzheimer's in the United States is $321 billion in 2022 and increasing to nearly $1 trillion in 2050.
That's a lot of people. That's a bunch of people. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And we see it misdiagnosed.
Yeah.
We see doctors diagnosing as just dementia whenever it's Alzheimer's. And because we've cared for so many people, not that we're doctors, but we can usually tell whether it's a UTI, because a lot of times people go, oh, well, they have Alzheimer's. Well, if it's really quick, sudden, it's usually a UTI. If it has started developing over many years, it could be dementia or Alzheimer's. So, that's hard. Now, there is a professional organization, the Alzheimer's Association, that even has a toll-free number that if you have a loved one that has Alzheimer's and you are providing that care and you are desperately needing to talk to someone that's a professional that understands what you're dealing with, this 24/7 phone number is 1-800-272-3900. And I'm going to say that again. The number is 1-800-272-3900. A few years back, the Alzheimer's Association asked me to sit on an advocacy committee. So what is that? So that is, I love politics a little bit, not all the time, but I do enjoy, if I'm passionate about something, letting the people that make those votes on how things are approved, I like to let them know. And because we see so many people with Alzheimer's, anything I can do and say to help those citizens deal with this disease, I want to let them know. I can remember my grandmother having Alzheimer's, living with me, and she was sweet as she could be, but there were things that she would do, like she would come to the door with no clothes on, and this is whenever I was a teenager, and me and my friends come over, and there Granny was streaking again in the living room. It was kind of embarrassing. Creighton, do you have some examples of some of our clients with Alzheimer's?
Oh gosh, I could talk for days. One of my first ones that I had 20 years ago, he was in an Alzheimer's unit, also assisted living facility, and he was in the stage 3 part of it. He couldn't walk, couldn't stand up. Pretty much when we got him, he was laying in bed, fetal position, wasn't barely drinking. It was unique to watch the caregiver work with him one-on-one, and his quality of life improved. He would eat all 3 meals a day. He'd eat snacks. He would talk with you. He may be fishing with you one minute and selling you something the next, but it did make a difference. But his was very forgetful. The caregiver was new. Each time she came in every day, she had to reestablish the relationship, and then she could move on to interacting with him. I've had others that were very active, first stages, early second stages, but one in particular, I had a woman, very tall. Her husband would sleep in one bedroom, she was in the other, and at night she would get up, she would go to his library, take all his books off the shelf far as she could reach, take her to a room, and she'd stack them up to the ceiling, far as she could reach. So when my caregiver came in the morning, she got to move all the books back to the bookshelf, and we did this every morning. So each one is different. and it's a challenge, but it's enjoyable to enhance her quality of life and make it better each day as much as you can.
Yeah, 100 years ago, people would be sent to Broughton because the general community did not know what to do with someone with Alzheimer's, so they would put them in lockdown units in Broughton. So Alzheimer's has come a long way. But recently, there has been a new release of a drug that can help slow the progression of the disease down by up to 30%. That is huge. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And I got to have my paperwork here to help us. But it is a drug that has been approved by the FDA, and the FDA has been granted access to that. Everybody can have access to it and can take it, but Medicare has not agreed to pay for it. Right. So what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to go to alz.org/coverage. That is where you can find out all the details of what class of disease modifying treatments exist for Alzheimer's, how does the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid affect access, what is the impact of the CMS decision to restrict access to these treatments, and what has happened. They've agreed not to pay for it through Medicare. So you can get the drug. It can be prescribed to you by your doctor, but the cost to receive this drug is $26,500 a year. I would say for 99.9% of all of Americans, that is unaffordable. So again, go to alz.org/coverage and learn how you can find out more about this. And you need to contact your U.S. senators and House of Representatives. Tell them the importance of this drug and the people that have Alzheimer's having access to it. Yeah, because the disease is devastating. People do get it younger in life as well. Early Alzheimer's, just imagine if you were a young mother or father and you had children in school, high school usually is about the age whenever someone develops early Alzheimer's. And then all of a sudden you can't remember what your child looks like. You can't remember how to drive. You can't remember them even being your children. Then you forget your spouse. So these drugs can help delay that onset by up to 30%. It could give someone with early Alzheimer's years longer to live and enjoy life with their family. So I encourage you to reach out to the Alzheimer's Association and let them know about the impact this could have on someone that you care about in the future. All right. Thank you for joining us today on Gibson's Caring Corner.
Hi, welcome back to Health Tips with Cale, your exercise science, health, and well-being enthusiast. So today I kind of want to go over a health topic of that some people might find a little controversial on how to take care of it, and that'll be diabetes. So there are two main types of diabetes, and I actually found out there was a third one, but that one actually plays, I would say, a minor effect in the overall population. But so let's go over what diabetes is, the two types of diabetes, and kind of how we can manage each diabetes. So diabetes is when the body either can't make insulin or is not able to utilize insulin properly within itself. And so insulin is the way that the body uses to get glucose from the blood into the muscles or the cells that need it the most. And so without insulin, if your body doesn't make enough, then you have no way of getting the glucose into the cells to produce energy. And if your body can't utilize insulin to its proper function, then you have the issue with either your body making too much insulin now to try and cope with that, and then you're still not getting enough energy to the cells. So what are the different types of diabetes? So you have type 1, and that's going to be more of a genetic. And so there's not really much that they've kind of found out that you can really do for that. It's kind of passed along through your genes. That really only affects about 10% of the population. So with that, it normally develops at an early age, but can really develop at any age. But they most commonly find it in younger adults. So with that, at that one, type 1 is little to no insulin production. From there, we have type 2. Type 2 actually affects 90% of the population, and it's actually rising. Type 2 diabetes is the improper use of insulin in the body. And so that means that your body is not able to utilize or use insulin to pull in the glucose to the cells that's needed the most. And with that, that's more of a health-related effect. And so the third one I found out was gestational. Gestational is, that's when you have high blood glucose during pregnancy, leading to any complications. And normally that will actually lead up to or increase risk for diabetes 2 later on in life. And so that one that's the third one I was talking about that I actually found out was kind of interesting to know that there's actually 3 types, but that one doesn't really affect as many people as the other 2. And so I really like to focus on type 1 and type 2. So type 1, as I said, that was the more of the genetic diabetes. With that one, people have to kind of rely on insulin injections that are prescribed by their doctors. From that, there's not really a way to prevent it by any means, but there are ways to kind of help manage it just a little bit. And with that, that's going to be helped with nutrition and physical exercise. So nutrition, as we've talked over the previous episodes, that is avoiding added sugars, eating more unsaturated fats than saturated fats, and then also eating higher amounts of dietary fiber. And then also having protein will actually help reduce or actually help slow down the digestion and the glucose absorption into the blood. So having protein at each meal or each snack can also help with that too a little bit. And then physical activity. So physical activity can actually help keep the blood glucose levels under control. And so using aerobic exercises, so going for a walk, a jog, going for a swim, or riding your bike can really help with that. And also resistance exercises. So anything that is body weight, doing squats, doing water aerobics, or going to the gym, that can all really help with that too. But once again, that can't cure anything, and it's not going to help prevent type 1, unfortunately. And so type 2 is more of the health related. That's the one that you can reduce the risk of getting diabetes through that one, through a healthier lifestyle. So with this one, it's insulin resistant. So your body isn't able to absorb or use the insulin properly. And this one, it's actually seen increasing in all ages due to increased obesity. So physical inactivity and a poor diet are the main causes for diabetes 2 in today's world. And so with that, if you look around and you see that kid that's eating his 5th ice cream for the day, it's probably not a good idea that he's eating that 5th ice cream. He should probably be, eating a thing of broccoli. I know broccoli is not the best. I don't like broccoli myself, but going for a walk or finding a healthier substitution for a nice snack is a much better option than eating that 5th serving of ice cream. And then, so with that, it's the way to kind of help with diabetes 2, once you are diagnosed with it, is once again having a healthier lifestyle. So eating healthier and then also exercising, the same as type 1. There are ways to kind of help manage that a lot better, and that's just by living a healthier lifestyle. And then there are medications for diabetes 2, but really having a healthier lifestyle is the best way to kind of help manage and treat that. Once again, none of this information today is here to diagnose or treat anything. It's just a way to provide information for those that might need it, and to better inform and to equip everybody so they may make a better change for themselves. Well, thank you for today, and thank you for joining us for Cale's Health Tips.
All right, welcome back. And this is today's edition of Let's Go Back Through Time, the stories of Elizabeth Anne Rinehardt Gibson. Here we go. Alice was a little tiny girl, and she had watched her mother wring a chicken's neck. Grab it and you just wring it. That's the way they did back then. And you did that to dress it for dinner. And Mother picked up the dead chicken and went into the house to pluck it, clean it, and dress the chicken. She left Alice playing in the yard. As she looked out at Alice, she saw a real sight. All over the ground lay a dozen little yellow fluffy chicks with their heads pinched off. She had wrung all the necks off as she had seen Mother do it too. Oh no. And Alice, of course, was my sister. Sister Alice must have been a real colorful child. She cried for the moon, played with her clock on the mantel board, and had 9 adults at her beck and call. Granddad, Grandmother, Albert, Minnie, her dad and mother, Uncle Bill, Aunt Stella, Aunt Gertie, Uncle Burl, Walter Blackwelder, a cousin who lived with the Reinhardts. She must have had a good time. Molasses making was a big family project for us. It took many days of making preparations to make molasses cane. Growing the cane, stripping the fodder, cutting the cane down, hauling it to the molasses mill where the horse went round and round, squeezing the cane juice out, sending the juice through the pipes to the copper pans, ready to cook. One could have been there to understand all the work that went into making good molasses. If they're cooked too little, they stay green. If cooked too long, they can burn and bite the tongue when trying to eat them. Mr. Mood Honeycutt would usually come and help Alice, Coit, Bub, Ruth, Sarah, Bill, Jeanette, John, and Ann make them. Dad and Jack Rogers always took care of squeezing the juice, building up the fire, getting fresh water from the spring. After hours and hours of cooking done, they were stored in 55-gallon wooden kegs and placed on the back porch for year-round use. We had an unusual group of trees around our molasses mill for our area. Cypress trees brought here by Mr. McNeely's slaves from Charleston, South Carolina. There were 8 or 10 huge cypress trees with all the knees sticking out from their roots. Our spring was cleaned, boxed in, and gave us fresh, clean water to use to wash the copper pans and long stirring paddles at the molasses mill. Dad had a deep ditch running to the creek from the spring. Once one of our good cows did not come in at night. Dad looked for her only to find she had fallen into the ditch with her head upstream. She had sunk in the mud up to her belly. All the neighbors took lanterns and shovels and went to dig her out. Mutt, Ralph Brawley, our close neighbor, came early and stayed in the ditch the entire night, digging the cow out. They got her out in the morning only for her to die. The trauma was too great, but my memory of Mutt doing so much to help a neighbor brings back fond memories of him. Mutt's wife, Nellie, was a school teacher and a beautiful lady. At Christmas time, she would fill a huge box with goodies she had made and bring it to our house. I thought it was the nicest thing anyone could ever do for us. Nellie and Mutt had one son, Little Mutt, and take my word for it, he was just that. Bill Rinehardt and Bob Garrison would go to visit and play cards after supper. Little Mutt would get a stick and put chicken poop on it and chase the 2 boys all over everything. Big Mutt loved his toddy. Once he slid into a ditch about 300 yards from his house, and he pulled the throttle back full force and left that little Mercury car wide open and went home and went to bed. Mutt was killed in that little Mercury sometime later when he was driving out Salisbury Road 150 and wrecked, DWI. He was a good man who loved the toddy. He died when his new daughter was approximately 3 weeks old. Guns were always hanging over every door in our old log house, loaded. Once when I was 9 or 10 years old, I saw a red-headed woodpecker picking away at a little black walnut tree near the horse's water tub. I went in the house, climbed on a dining room chair upon the water bucket shelf, and got Bill's .22 rifle and went outside, took aim, and pow, a dead red-headed pecker wood bird. Then I was happy, but a bit frightened at what Mom, Dad, and Bill might say about me taking the rifle without permission. I ran to Dad to show him. He was happy for me and glad to be rid of that little varmint. All right, that's the end of today's story. Thank you for joining us at Gibson's Caring Corner.
Thank you for watching Caring Corner. Make sure you head over to our Facebook and YouTube channel where you will find this program along with others. Be sure that you subscribe, like, and click the notification bell so that you will receive notifications for our weekly program. Don't forget to share this program to your social media platforms. If there's a question that you would like to ask, make sure to email it to caringcorner22@gmail.com. We hope to see you on the next episode of Caring Corner.